The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining our webinar for the Department of Family and Support Services, Health Promotion Services, RFP. The release date was August 27th, and as a reminder, the due date for this RFP is September 24th at 12 p.m. Next slide. Just some housekeeping before we get going here. Due to the volume of participants, everyone has been placed on mute. Please submit questions via the question box on your dashboard, and we will respond to questions after going through all the slides. And if you have any technical issues, please let us know in the question box as well. Next slide. So here's sort of an overview of our webinar today. Welcome once again. We'll do introductions on next slide. And we're going to talk about the purpose of the RFP, the background, scope, and the program description, selection criteria, the timeline, technical assistance, and then lastly at the end, we will field any questions you all have. Next slide. So unfortunately, Yolanda Curry, our Deputy Commissioner, cannot be here today. I, though, am here. My name is Sean Dolan. I'm a Regional Director with the Department of Family and Support Services. In addition, Julia Talbot, our Senior Policy Analyst, is also not able to be here today, but Thomas Mose with the Department of Family and Support Services, he's going to help us out today with some of the technical questions about the RFP. Thomas, did you want to say hello to everyone?
Yeah, hi everyone. Again, my name is Thomas Mose. I go by Tom. I work at Department of Family Support Services, and I work alongside Julia in conducting these webinars for all the RFPs and every division at the department. So I can help answer some technical issues as well. And I'll be filling in, like Sean said, during the second half of the presentation to go over information about working with an iSupplier and e-procurement. Thanks a lot.
All right, next slide. So the purpose of the Health Promotion Services RFP, we are seeking to procure a minimum of 2 delegate agencies to provide health promotion services to older adults age 55 and older at our network of 21 citywide senior centers consisting of 6 regional senior centers and 15 satellite senior centers, in addition to online and telephonic program offerings. Next slide. As the local area agency on aging, our division coordinates and funds services for older adults, prioritizing those in greatest economic and social need, those who live alone, and those at risk for institutional placement. Working in collaboration with our aging network partners, our division's efforts are guided by supporting older persons to live independently in their own communities and homes for as long as possible, ensuring that those who reside in institutions are treated with dignity and care, and guaranteeing that older persons have access to accurate information to participate in public policy. Together with our service providers, we have been providing these health promotion services to older adults for over 2 decades. Funded by Title IIIB, Title IIIC, and Title IIID of the Older Americans Act, the OAA, State of Illinois General Revenue Funds, and Community Development Block Grants, CDBG. These services have been designed to empower older adults in remaining healthy and safe within their own homes via online and telephonic programming, and communities via programming at neighborhood senior centers and community site locations. And then, as a result of this, such services then align with our division level goal of supporting older adults to live independently for as long as possible. Next slide. So the goals of the Health Promotion Services for Older Adults RFP are to assist older adults to increase their health awareness, to increase their self-determination in managing their health, and to increase their positive health behaviors. Next slide. You want to go back one? There we go. Current state and priorities for improvement. So in fiscal year 2019, 6,404 unduplicated older adults participated in our health promotion services, and 5,116 units of service, which is one activity session or hour of related service provision, were performed. Then in fiscal year 2020, amidst the pandemic, our numbers dropped a little bit. 3,669 unduplicated older adults participated in health promotion services, that is in person, over the phone, and online, with 2,863 units of service performed. Please note that the selected respondents are expected to assist with outreach efforts to increase the number of older adults accessing services. And due, or sort of as a result of the pandemic, Health Promotion Services, our program seeks to further expand our social isolation programming, such as wellness discussion groups or other innovative initiatives that are sort of detailed in RFP, and also our online and telephonic activities to complement our traditional in-person services that are usually held at the senior centers. Next slide. Our target population, the intended recipients, are community-based older adults, those age 55 and older. The Older Americans Act, Title 3D, has some prioritized subpopulations, and they are older adults living in medically underserved areas, older adults demonstrating greatest economic need, with particular attention to low-income minority individuals, and older adults at risk for institutional placement. Additional sort of special populations for us for this RFP are older adults with limited English proficiency and older adults with disabilities. Next slide, please. So now sort of looking at the program requirements for the RFP, this is just sort of an overview slide. Health Promotion Services RFP will select a minimum of 2 respondents to provide health promotion services via online and over-the-phone platforms and in person at 21 citywide senior center locations. The selected respondents will be responsible for overall program management, including assisting with outreach efforts to increase participation, as we sort of mentioned before, incorporating best practice and evidence-based standards, utilizing health professionals, that is a registered nurse, a licensed clinical social worker, or an MSW, or a licensed social worker that's under the supervision of a licensed clinical social worker, registered dietitian, and a pharmacist, with previous geriatric experience preferred to deliver the program's core services, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and then also evaluating and reporting client satisfaction with the program service delivery. Next slide, please. So these are the core services of the program. There are 5 of them. The first one is health education. So respondents are responsible for scheduling monthly health education presentations facilitated by each of the health professionals that we just talked about at the previous slide at each of the senior center sites and online / over the phone. We're also responsible for delivering 1 or more ACL approved highest tier evidence-based workshops at least twice per year or as demand dictates at each senior center site and online or over the phone. Establish additional health education programs at each senior center site as demand dictates. Respondents are also responsible for health screenings, so schedule health screenings such as blood pressure checks, facilitated by the nurse or the pharmacist at each senior center site, and offer health referrals when needed or appropriate. One-on-one consultations, scheduling one-on-one consultations between each of the healthcare professionals that we talked about, those four: the nurse, the social worker, the dietitian, the pharmacist, and the older adult participants at each of the senior center sites, and online or over the phone. And once again, offer health referrals and supportive services when needed and appropriate. Then there's mental health support groups. So scheduling monthly mental health support groups facilitated by the LCSW or the MSW/LSW at each senior center site, and online or over the phone, to assist older adults' successful adaptation to life changes and losses, and once again offer appropriate health referrals and support services when needed. And also establish additional support or educational groups at each senior center site as demand dictates. And then lastly, the last core service is social isolation programming. So provide ongoing social isolation programming, for example, wellness discussion groups, being calls or checks, virtual programming, brain health activities, or any other innovative initiatives for older adults that's going to be facilitated by the social worker at each senior center site and online or over the phone, to really address isolation and loneliness among targeted older adult populations. And those targeted populations include individuals with limited English proficiency, LGBTQ elders, minorities, and individuals with chronic illnesses. Next slide, please. So those were the 5 main core services. There's also an optional dietitian consulting service or program component. So please note that 1 award will be granted to provide dietitian consulting services to the DFSS Senior Services Congregate and Home Delivered Meals Nutrition Programs. So for the overall core services, we're going to award that to 2 delegate agencies, but this is just 1 delegate agency. And the dietitian consultant will provide technical assistance and assure nutrition program standards are in conformance with federal, state, and local regulations. More specifically, this is sort of evidenced in RFP, the consultants will review and approve draft menus in accordance with IDOA nutrition program standards. That's the Illinois Department of Aging. Addressing legal requirements upon which federal funding for our nutrition programs are based. Completing and signing the IDOA menu approval sheet for each menu submitted. And then, overall, providing general consulting services on nutrition projects, including but not limited to development of public education material, staff training on food safety and sanitation procedures, nutrition site monitoring and related follow-up, and other projects related to our nutrition programs. Next slide, please. Program requirements, the unit of service. So 1 unit of service equals 1 activity session, that is a health education presentation, a mental health support group, or a health screening, or 1 hour of related service provision. For this RFP, the selected respondent is authorized to propose a per hour unit rate for the services offered as described in this RFP. And travel, paperwork planning, and administrative duties will be included in the unit rate reimbursement. Next slide, please. So emergency contingencies, due to COVID, this is extremely important. Special emphasis, should be placed on developing contingency plans for any emergencies. For example, pandemics, winter storms, tornadoes, heat waves, etc., that require a change in programming. For the Health Promotion Services RFP, please note that all services are to be moved to online or telephonic platforms in case of emergency or shelter-in-place order, which happened due to COVID recently. Next slide, please. So this slide is about staffing qualifications and requirements, getting into the details about those 4 healthcare professionals. So the selected respondent must employ a registered nurse, a licensed clinical social worker or MSW/LSW, a registered dietitian, and a pharmacist with previous geriatric experience preferred according to the following specifications. So they will provide an RN for 2 to 4 hours a week, a social worker for 2 to 4 hours a week, a dietitian for 2 to 4 hours a month, and a pharmacist for 2 to 4 hours a month at each senior center site and online or over the phone as demand dictates. It's important to ensure an adequate number of qualified and experienced staff to effectively coordinate and or perform the expected core services and have a backup plan in place in the event of any absences. Verify that the evidence-based program instructors or leaders have the appropriate training, program licenses, and certifications/credentials. Offer consultations, assistance, and education/training to senior center staff on addressing older adult clients who are in need of physical, mental health, and or cognitive support. Provide a wellness program schedule for marketing publications, assist with any health-related special events and initiatives, participate in meetings with other contracted awardees to coordinate citywide health promotion services and resolve problems. Formulate strategies to engage older adults who do not access our services, sort of outreach again, and develop innovative approaches to enhance program stature. And comply with all applicable laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, regulations, rules, etc., relating to background checks. Next slide, please. So client contributions. The selected respondent may not charge for any of the program services. Pursuant to the Older Americans Act, all participants are provided the opportunity to contribute or donate to the cost of their services, but those are strictly voluntary contributions. And any collected income must be used to expand the services of the provider and supplement, not supplant, funds received for the program. Next slide, please. So performance goals and outcomes. So our department seeks respondents with evidence of strong past performance against desired outcome goals. We will monitor through the selected respondents' client satisfaction surveys a set of performance indicators that may include, but are not limited to, 75% of participants will increase their health awareness. So I hope that 75% of participants will increase their self-determination in managing their health. 75% of participants will increase their positive health behaviors, and 85% of participants will be satisfied with service delivery. We also intend to track output metrics that may include, but are not limited to, the number of unduplicated program participants, the number of new program participants, the number of service hours provided, and the number of referrals to other healthcare providers. Next slide, please. Contract management and data reporting requirements. So the selected respondents will be expected to collect and report demographic, performance, and service data. That is program attendance, and duplicated participant count, and units of service provided for the month as stated in any resulting contract. Collect periodic feedback from program participants about the effectiveness of the program service delivery. Generate client satisfaction services or surveys to track performance measures. Implement policies and procedures to ensure privacy and confidentiality of client records. Utilize the division's information system and support. Submit reports electronically to our department. Next slide, please. So this is additional guidance for respondents that's really specific to this RFP. In the RFP, respondents are required to indicate their intention to provide services in one or multiple senior centers. Although you only need to submit one application if you're intending to provide services at more than one senior center. Respondents are also required to indicate their intention to offer the optional program component of dietitian consulting. Please note, though, that this RFP has a cost proposal worksheet in lieu of the traditional submitted budget. So this allows the respondents to indicate the proposed unit rate for their different health promotion professionals. Please note that the top scoring respondents for, I believe it's the top 2 scoring respondents for the RFP's main core services will have their 2 additional dietitian consulting service or questions scored on a 5-point scale. And the top scoring respondent for those 2 additional questions will then be selected to provide this optional program component. Respondents are not required to apply to provide the dietitian consulting for the rest of their application to be considered responsive, but respondents must apply to provide the RFP's main core services if they intend to also apply to provide the optional dietitian consulting. Next slide, please. So the anticipated term of contract. The contract will be from October 1st through September 30th. Based upon need and availability of funding and contractor performance, our department may be able to extend this term for up to 1 additional year after or beyond September 30th, 2023. This contract will operate on a reimbursement basis only. No advances will be given. A minimum of 2 delegate agencies will be awarded based upon the continued availability of funding levels. With an estimated site reimbursement allocation of $11,250 for each satellite senior center location. Those are 15. And then $30,735 for each of the 6 regional senior center locations. And then for the optional program component of dietitian consulting, once again, only 1 delegated agency will be awarded $20,000 to provide that optional service. As noted again, the respondent will be required to complete a cost proposal worksheet providing an estimated annual service volume for the following service types: our satellite senior centers, our regional senior centers, and the optional dietitian consulting services. Next slide. So this is our selection criteria. First is strength of proposed program. We're hoping that the respondents clearly define health promotion services to be provided directly or through partnerships or linkage agreements with other agencies that are appropriate to addressing the needs of and achieving the desired outcomes for the target population. The respondent's proposed service plan is supported by strong evidence-based programming and aligns with best practices for the relevant field. The respondent clearly demonstrates a clear understanding of the older adult target population and all the subpopulations that we talked about and their needs and challenges. The respondent has an effective approach to identifying and retaining program participants and solicits and incorporates client feedback into their program model. The respondent has experience providing dietitian consultant services, if they're applying for that, comparable in size, scope, and duration. The respondent's program plan for dietitian consulted services, if they're applying for that, is aligned with best practices for the field and supported by data, outcomes, and current research. And the respondent demonstrates experience providing health promotion services both virtually and in person. Next slide, please. Performance management and outcomes. The hope is that the respondent demonstrates evidence of strong past performance, as we talked about before, against desired goals and performance metrics, and or other notable accomplishments in providing services to the target population. The respondent has the relevant systems and processes needed to track and report performance on program outcomes. The respondent has experience using data, including client feedback, to inform and improve its services or practices. The respondent has the relevant systems and processes needed to collect and store key participant and performance data. Next slide. Organizational capacity. Hope is that the respondent has the relevant capabilities and infrastructure needed to manage this program. The respondent has qualified staff responsible for program oversight and management. The respondent has adequate systems and processes to support monitoring program expenditures and fiscal controls. The respondent has adequate HR capacity to hire and manage staff. The respondent has expertise working with the target population that we talked about, and has relevant capabilities or infrastructure needed to serve this group. And the respondent's organization reflects and engages the diverse people of the communities it serves. Next slide. Reasonable cost, budget justification, and leverage of funds. Once again, the hope is that the respondent has the fiscal capacity to implement the proposed program. The respondent conducts an audit. The respondent leverages other funds and in-kind contributions to support total program and administrative costs. And the respondent demonstrates reasonable implementation costs and funding requests relative to its financial and human resources. And the proposed budget supports the proposed scope of work or work plan. Next slide, sorry. Attachments. Please be sure to attach reports, studies, or other documentation that shows performance towards reaching the program goals and demonstrates results and accomplishments. Also, please make sure to attach job descriptions and resumes for all 4 of the health professionals, the nurse, the social worker, dietitian, the pharmacist that your program would be using, and the job descriptions and resumes for any program oversight or general management staff. And then please make sure to attach a cost proposal worksheet, which is included in the RFP. Next slide, please. So the pre-proposal webinar is today. Applications are due on Friday, September 24th at 12 o'clock p.m. That is a hard cutoff time. So please, submit early. If y'all have any questions, please have them get answered at least a couple days prior to that time. And then once again, the program period begins on October 1st. Next slide, please. So once again, just another friendly reminder, applications are due on Friday, September 24th at 12 p.m. And from here, Thomas is going to take over.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot, Sean. Appreciate it. So I just want to repeat what the slide says, because it's very important in all the Department of Family and Support Services. RFP applications are always due on a specific date at 12 p.m. So if you are working, this is at September 24th at 12 p.m. If you're currently trying to submit the application and it's 11:59, if you waited till the last minute and the clock turns 12 and you haven't submitted and gotten to the confirmation page, you will be cut off and the application won't be accepted. So I'll repeat this again during the presentation, but there are some steps we can take that are very important to make sure that we can avoid any issues with submitting on time. So let me walk you through what some of these application tips are that we give out to everybody. So it's repeated often that we start early and save often are the two most important things you can do if you remember this portion of the presentation. So what you should be doing immediately if you've never done business with the City of Chicago is register an iSupplier e-procurement. It generally can take about 1 week to get your iSupplier account up and running. And that is done at a different department. And so we recommend that you get this done as soon as possible. When you're into the e-procurement system and you have the RFP, it's very important to look at all the narratives and the application questions closely. This is a good time to look at how the questions are asked and what the RFP says and how you can answer those specific questions. So remember, they align with the scope and selection criteria. So this is a helpful hint to use the information in the RFP for guidance in formulating your answers. I'd also like to tell you about, again, carefully review the selection criteria. As we said, you'll be answering your questions. There's a 4,000 character limit, which includes punctuation and spaces. And so each response is allotted 4,000 characters, which is about approximately 1 page if you're working in a Word document. So a lot of times what we like to tell people is take the questions, put them into Word, put your answers into a Word document and copy and paste those over. This way, it's a good way of keeping a record of your actual application with the questions, and that you're, doing a good job with your grammar and spelling and your editing. So again, there's a 4,000 character limit for each question. E-procurement typically works best with the Internet Explorer browser. So that's the Internet Explorer browser. We know that people have used other browsers like on their Apple laptop or desktop. You certainly can try to use it in your Chrome, but just as a helpful tip that it works best in your Internet Explorer. And as you're going through your application, we like to remind people, do not use your back button on your browser. It typically won't save your information. So this is why at the bottom of this page, we tell everybody to save often. Every time you're typing your answer out, as you're going along, keep hitting the save button, move along. All right. Some tips for working in e-procurement. So you can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date of Friday, September 24th, 2021 at 12 p.m. Again, we just want to let you know that if you submitted early, you think of a different answer to your question, or you want to expand on a question, you can always go back, pull out your application, answer that question, and then resubmit it. So we always, as we said early, save often, submit early, can avoid the rush, possible mishaps by submitting early. When you get to the final pages of submitting your application, try to leave at least 30 to 60 minutes when you're doing that. Late applications will not be accepted. Make use of the e-procurement hotline. You can use this number If any questions you have at 312-744-4357 or help. Julia will always be available to help with any technical questions, and her contact information is listed all over the RFP app and also at the end of this presentation. And please note that the hotline operates during business hours only, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. So if you have any other technical assistance, on the DFSS webpage is a link to the RFP of interest and training documents, the alert section on our website. Questions or registration, e-procurement, or technical assistance for delegate agencies. Here is their email address, customer support at cityofchicago.org, or call them at 312-744-HELP. And then your training materials, there's lots of training materials on the e-procurement website. This is just the website under iSupplier and where to access these training materials. But again, you'll see many documents and videos when you're in that website. Okay, so now I'm going to show you 2 examples of working in e-procurement and go through steps in a step-by-step process that we have outlined of how to accept an amendment and how to submit an application. So let's get started on how to accept an amendment. So in step 1, how to accept an amendment. RFP you're interested in has been amended. This can be a number of things. It could be that there was, after this presentation, there's typically a frequently asked questions section, and this recording is posted on the DFSS YouTube channel. That might be a reason why. There could be another reason why the RFP was amended. And what you'll do in order that before you get into your application, you have to go through a series of steps to accept an amendment to get to your application. Please note that the RFP shown in this and subsequent slides is just an example. It's not for this RFP that you're doing. So to accept an amendment, you click on View Amendment History, which is circled over here in the left-hand corner with a red line. And if the RFP has not been amended yet, you select Create Quote from the drop-down menu in the Actions box, and then click on Go. That will take you to the application page where you get started. So to begin the acceptance and acknowledgement process, to open the RFP in view only, click on the document number, which is labeled number 1 here on the slide, on your left-hand side. To review the amendment changes in the RFP, you can go over to the far right side, number 2, click on the infinity or eyeglasses icon. Then after you have read, you can choose to just read here in a small section. It provides a quick summary of what was amendment. You can just read that, and if that's sufficient for you, you can, if you don't want to review the changes, you can go to number 3 here on the bottom right, and you click on Acknowledge Amendment button. And by acknowledging the amendment, you're indicating that you are aware of the changes made to the RFP and the amendment. And then when you get to this screen, you click on I accept checkbox on the left-hand side that's circled, and then click on Acknowledge on the right-hand side. Then again, it will take you to another slide, and you'll have to click on Yes to indicate that you confirm your acknowledgement of the amendment. And I'm going through all these slides with you in these different pages because it is kind of a tedious process to accept an amendment with multiple screens. But just note that this should normally take less than two minutes or so to accept an amendment to get back into your application and begin writing in it. So finally, you click on the checkbox, hey, accept the terms and conditions. That's number 1 at the bottom of the screen. And then you click on accept to accept it at the top right here. This is the final step in acknowledging and accepting the amendment. So then now I'm going to take you through the second part of an example of how to submit an application. So this is where we typically said it can take 30 to 60 minutes, and because sometimes there are some issues that arise that you may not be aware of, and you just need to correct them before you get to the final page of submitting your RFP application. So I think there's about a series of 8 to 9 steps I'm going to walk you through here and just give you some examples. So when you are ready to submit, again, start by saving your draft one last time, then where it's circled here, and then click on the continue button. Now, if you're missing information, as I was saying before, in some cases, you'll be given an error message at the top of the page. That circle here that you must quote on at least one line in the RFQ. So something might have been missed, and so we'll take you through this example. So usually the error messages direct something that is left undone in the application. Last example, the error message indicated that the lines had not been filled out. So it's found under the lines tab that I have circled here. So in this example, the error is about an unanswered question in the application or a requirement section. The quote value refers to your answer. So in this case, your missing answer, which I have circled here in the requirements on the left, the first name, and then the quote value. And so you just have to fill that in to get to your final stages of your application. So these are some little things that might be missed when you get to the submit phase. And then once your application is free from errors, you are ready to proceed and submit. At this point, clicking continue should put your application into the review and submit phase. And now under step 6, this is your last chance to review all your data and confirm that it is accurate. Check your attachments, scroll to the bottom of the screen to see all your responses. And as you scroll through many pages of your answers, at the bottom of the screen, you'll be asked to provide an electronic signature, and be sure to fill in the signature before checking the box. So this is kind of sometimes reversed about how people think about it. Just a tip here that, again, you have to fill in your signature and then check the box. If you check the box and then the name and title will be blanked out and you won't be able to fill that in. So again, just remember to sign your name and your title, then check the box and hit submit. So this was still the same page on e-procurement under the step 8. It's just this screen shows that the submit button is on the far right hand side that I highlighted in yellow and pointed to the arrow with red. And then finally, you'll get a submittal confirmation screen. The e-procurement system sends a confirmation email within 24 hours of your submission. But if you're worried about it being submitted on time, meaning if you have or in general, you just want to know that it was submitted and you don't want to wait those 24 hours. If you desire the confirmation to be seen for you to know that it's received on our end, go ahead and call Julia or email her, add her contact information. And that is the end of the technical side of the for the application tips. Remember to save often and submit early and start early as well. So in this section, we have been receiving questions, and Sean is going to. I've kind of taken a look. Sean's going to read them out loud, and then try to answer any of your questions today.
All right, thank you, Tom. So we have a couple of questions. First question is, so will the dietitian services be included underneath this one RFP and not submitted as a separate contract? That's correct. The dietitian services will be included under this one RFP. So there's actually 2 specific questions within the RFP in the strength of proposed program section. So if you want to provide the dietitian consulting services, you must answer those 2 questions. If you do not want to provide the optional dietitian consulting services, you do not have to answer those 2 questions. If you do, and you answer them and your organization is selected to provide services, the other 5 core services, then based upon those those organizations that are selected to provide the core services, then those 2 questions specifically just for the dietitian consulting services, they then will get judged or scored, and then the top scoring respondent will be awarded the dietitian consulting optional program component. The next question, can we propose a different per hour unit rate for different services? For example, reimbursing our nurses at a higher rate than our social workers, or must there only be a single per hour unit rate used across all disciplines? Yes, you have the ability to, in the cost proposal worksheet, to set the unit rate for each of those 4 health professionals at both the regional senior centers and at the satellite senior centers. The next one is on-site kitchen monitoring required as part of this contract, or is that part negotiable as a virtual service? As it's sort of written in the RFP, it does say nutrition monitoring is a requirement. And that, I believe, is pertaining to on-site monitoring. I'm thinking that might be hard to do virtually, but in the contracting kind of part of this, if you are selected to be a respondent, that could be brought up, I believe, with our department if you are wanting to negotiate that. The next question is, in the past, our organization had to complete several contracts each year, Title III funding, and CDBG funding each year with different time frames. If we apply for this RFP, can we streamline the contract process and ask for a single contract inclusive of all funding that is dated the full length of the RFP? So yes, so sort of like what we said with the previous question, if you are selected to provide the services outlined in this RFP, then in the contracting phase, this is something that could be talked about with our department. The next question, we already have an iSupplier account, but can you please briefly explain how to start an official application through e-procurement? We're told the cost proposal worksheet is located there, but we're still having trouble finding that page on the website. We've only been able to locate the RFP PDF on e-procurement. Tom, do you know? Can you answer that one?
Yeah, well, I don't think I can provide like a detailed answer today, but I wanted to let you know that if you're having issues with this, what I would suggest right now, because it takes too long in this webinar, to stop showing the slides, go into an example and show you how to pull that out. So this is Julia Talbot's contact information, 312-743-1679, or julia.talbot, talbot@cityofchicago.org. Just email her with your questions. She'll be back in the office on Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and she can you can give you instructions to walk you through of how to start officially the application through e-procurement. So I hope that will help, and we'll get that. I'll make sure that she gets this question addressed to you upon her return as well.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, and also if you have any programmatic questions, feel free to reach out to Yolanda Curry, and you can copy me as well. There's a couple extra questions here. Would that negotiation terminology need so contract details are decided on once the RFP is selected? Could that person sort of retype that? Because I'm kind of unclear as to sort of what they're getting at. And we'll go to the next one, and then hopefully the other person can sort of reframe that question. In regards to performance satisfaction, how do you foresee us collecting surveys virtually for those who don't have access to technology? That is a good question. Obviously, that's something that we're sort of working on due to the pandemic. And obviously, if you were selected to be a respondent, I think the hope would be that, you know, if we're sort of still doing a lot of the programs online or over the phone, that would sort of need to be done somehow that way. I think that would really be working with us to sort of try to come up with a creative solution to that, and working with the other awardees to sort of find a solution to that if we are still doing a lot of the services online or over the phone. But, you know, obviously if we go back to in person, that would be easier. But yeah, once again, if you're selected to be the respondent, you know, obviously then you would work with us to sort of address sort of collecting surveys from virtual participants or telephonic participants. Another question. Is there a way to view previous RFPs we submitted in prior years? That may be a Julia question. I believe that might be a Julia question. Tom, do you know if there's a way in the system to check?
Yes, the only way, so e-procurement has been used at DFSS for about 3.5 years right now. And so, and since you're submitting it and you get a confirmation page email, either you would have copied and pasted into a Word document during this time your questions and answers, or they wouldn't be on the other record available unless it's in the e-procurement system. So you can certainly, if you're going back that many years, to try to ask Julia to see if she can get a copy of that. Also, Julia has been with Department of Family Support Services for many years, and there was a previous system that they used, and I don't have the name off the top of my head how you submitted it. She may be able to locate some of those older RFPs, but again, if there's no access to those past RFP submittals, then there's no way to get it used. So again, I just emailed Julia that question. So I'll make sure to pull out that question when I send her the details from this webinar today that you asked that question.
So Tom, sort of a similar question someone just asked, do we need to submit a FOIA request to see prior submissions?
Again, in fact, that's an interesting question. I've been doing these RFP webinars for over 3 years, mostly on the technical assistance side with Julia. I actually have never seen that question before. That may have to be the case if you have to do it. But again, I'll pull out this question, and the person that had asked it, I'll have your contact information since you registered for the RFP, and I'll get this over to Julia so she can get that answer to you right away. And if that's the case, I'll ask you. This will be a frequently asked question that will be attached to this. It takes about a week for that FAQ to come out. So next week, this answer will be, both of these questions will be answered. And if you have to submit a FOIA request, then that will be answered as well. But if you, particularly for one organization, want to ask Julia this question, you can go ahead and submit that to her.
There was another question, the follow-up question that I asked about previously. I think this person did a follow-up question. Let me go back up to it. Is the RFP awarded? If the RFP is awarded, then the contract details or the contract details approved, or are there any details, for example, online versus in-person work, need to be described before a respondent is selected? So yes, I mean in the questions in the RFP, especially within the strength of proposed program section, there will be questions specifically asking you to address, you know, how will you address, you know, all those core services, and it's really important in those questions to address how you will do that, you know, in person and online. And yes, those things need to be done before a respondent is selected. Okay, so this,
Sean,
there's another question.
I just want to interject real quick. If you're looking at the very last question, that was a follow-up to the FOIA. That person just provided her contact information, and she said that if in a case of another city that they had to submit a FOIA request for previous application submittal. So again, we'll just let everybody know that we'll get that answer out as soon as we can in the FAQ. And if you have that specific answer right away, then again, just email Julia.
There's another question. Can multiple organizations work together for one RFP? So is it like a joint application? Is that sort of what they're getting? Yes. I believe that's possible. I want to say yes, that is possible. Are you aware of any like specific guidelines from a technical perspective, Tom? Oh, they be subcontractors. Yes, that's fine. Yes, that's a follow-up. Yes, that's fine. Yes. Are you aware of any like technical issues with regards to that?
No,
like
no, I think the so once that answer, we can get that answer to this person. If in the FAQ, or Sean, you want to answer that person's question directly after the meeting when I get you the registration list with contact information. If that's possible, the only thing that you have to do is you can only submit it in one account on iSupply or e-procurement. So you don't have two organizations submitting the same application. You choose one as the primary, and they are going to fill out all the information and only submit it one time and send it to them. So I've seen that happen with all our how they do that. And then remember, if you are awarded, there's multiple things that will have to happen.
I hope you're going in and out, Tom, a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Just for now, just note that it's only one account that you can use to submit that.
Right. Okay. So we're at 12 o'clock, and just to honor everyone's time, we're probably going to end it at that, unless there's any last questions. But if you do have any other follow-up questions, please contact Julia for like technical support, especially with regards to applying. And then if you have any sort of programmatic questions, feel free to reach out to Yolanda. And then you feel free to copy me if need be. With that, we thank you for your time. We hope to receive lots of applications, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thanks everyone. Have a great day.